Have you ever smiled so hard your heart ached? Pretended to be happy for someone while a part of you quietly shattered inside? You clap, you congratulate, you say all the right words, but deep down a voice whispers, "When will it be my turn?" You hide that voice well. You've learned to. Because the world doesn't want to see the pain behind your smile. It only celebrates joy, never the ache that lives behind it. There's a certain kind of silence that only women without children understand. It's not just about wanting a baby, it's about wanting to feel complete, to see a tiny hand reach for yours, to hear your name spoken for the first time by a voice you created. That silence grows louder with every passing year, every birthday, every pregnancy announcement, every casual. So, when are you having kids? Thrown your way like it's nothing. They don't see your heart stop for a second. They don't see how long it takes to recover from that single question. You tell yourself to be grateful. You tell yourself others have it worse, and maybe they do. But pain doesn't compete. It just exists, quietly, constantly. You carry it like a secret, because explaining it never helps. People mean well, but their words cut deep. Maybe it's not meant to be. Just relax. It'll happen when you stop trying. They don't understand that you've already tried everything. Every test, every prayer, every sleepless night staring at the ceiling, wondering what's wrong with you. You're not just fighting biology. You're fighting shame, guilt, and a society that measures womanhood by motherhood. You smile in photos, you give gifts at baby showers, you even help pick out tiny clothes for someone else's child. But when you're alone, it hits you again. The quiet house, the empty room, the dream you keep tucking away because it hurts too much to look at it. You scroll through pictures of babies online, not to torture yourself, but because something inside you still believes, still hopes, still aches to nurture. And yet, you keep going. You show up to work. You show up for family. You show up for life, even when it feels like life forgot to show up for you. That takes strength. A kind of strength that no one claps for. Because no one sees it. No one sees the way you hold yourself together when someone says, "You wouldn't understand, you're not a mother." They don't see how you bite your tongue, swallow your tears, and keep smiling. But maybe that's where your quiet power lies. In the strength to endure what others can't see. In the ability to love without conditions, even when you have no one to call your own. You may not have carried a child, but you've carried hope, again and again, even when it broke you. You've carried love so pure it hurts. You've carried resilience in silence. And that silence, it's sacred. It doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. It means your heart still feels deeply, even after all the disappointment. It means you still have faith somewhere inside, no matter how small. And that faith, that's where healing begins. Not in forgetting the pain, but in understanding it. Not in forcing yourself to move on, but in realizing you were never less to begin with. You are not incomplete. You are not broken. You are not missing your purpose. Sometimes the world measures value by what it can see. A baby in your arms, a family in your photo. But there are other kinds of creation. You create compassion. You create strength. You create meaning from pain. You breathe life into others through kindness they'll never forget. And maybe that's your quiet legacy, the lives you touch simply by existing with grace, by surviving something most people couldn't bear. So tonight, when the world sleeps and your heart starts whispering again, don't silence it. Listen, let it speak, let it cry. Then remind it gently, you are still enough, you always were. And while the world may never fully understand your silent pain, somewhere deep inside, you already know you've lived through something powerful, something sacred, something that doesn't need to be seen to be real. You spent years carrying pain in silence, but pain has a way of shaping you into something extraordinary. You may not see it now, but every tear, every sleepless night, every moment you thought you couldn't go on, it was building something within you, a quiet strength, a sacred kind of wisdom, the kind that only comes from walking through fire and refusing to burn. You survived days you thought would break you, and that means you've already proven something to yourself. You are capable of more than you ever imagined. The world doesn't need to understand your journey for it to matter. What defines you isn't what you lost, it's what you found in the ruins. You found endurance, you found courage, you found the ability to love even when life didn't love you back. That's not weakness, that's power, real power, the kind that can't be taken away, no matter how unfair life becomes. But you can't stay trapped in the memory of what didn't happen. You can't keep punishing yourself for things beyond your control. There's more to you than this pain. You still have a purpose, a reason for being here right now. Maybe it's not the life you dreamed of, but maybe it's the life that will transform someone else's. Maybe the same pain that broke you is the one that will save another soul just because you survived it. Stop waiting for permission to heal. Stop waiting for the world to validate your worth. You don't need a title to matter. You don't need a child to be a nurturer. You don't need approval to be enough. You already are. And somewhere deep down, you know that. You've just been afraid to believe it. Afraid to let go of the story you've told yourself for too long, that you were meant for less, that something was missing. But nothing is missing. The moment you decide to stop viewing your pain as punishment and start seeing it as preparation, everything changes. This pain, it didn't come to destroy you. It came to reveal you. It came to teach you what it means to love without condition, to give without expecting, to rise without recognition. The same heart that feels empty today will one day overflow with a different kind of fulfillment, the kind that doesn't depend on circumstance, the kind that comes from knowing you turned suffering into strength. That's the kind of legacy that doesn't fade. It multiplies. You may not hold a child, but you hold something the world desperately needs: empathy. You understand loss. You understand waiting. You understand how it feels to want something so deeply it hurts to breathe. That understanding can heal others. You can comfort, guide, inspire because you've been there. You've seen the darkness and still chosen to be kind. You've lived through the silence and still chosen to speak softly. You've known emptiness and still chosen love. That's not just survival. That's transformation. So start now. Choose to see yourself differently. Choose to believe that your life still holds meaning beyond what didn't happen. The pain will always be a part of you, but it doesn't have to define you. You can still build, create, nurture, and love in ways that change the world. There are people waiting for your story. There are lives that will shift the moment you choose to step out of your shadow and into your light. You've already endured the hardest part, the loneliness, the shame, the questions with no answers. Now it's time to rise. This isn't about forgetting the dream. It's about freeing yourself from the belief that only one version of happiness exists. You can still live fully, love deeply, and find peace, even if your life looks nothing like what you imagined. Because healing doesn't mean erasing the past. It means taking back your power from it. It means standing tall in the middle of your scars and saying, "I'm still here." And that declaration, that choice to keep living, to keep loving despite everything, that's your victory. Story doesn't end with loss. It begins with strength. The same strength that carried you through your darkest nights is the same strength that will lead you into something beautiful. You may not know what that is yet, but you will. And when you do, you'll realize you were never forgotten, never broken, never less. You were being prepared all along for a purpose far greater than the pain that shaped you. You've carried so much alone, and yet you're still standing. That alone is proof of something unshakable inside you, a spirit that refuses to die. The world may not see the wars you've fought, but your soul remembers every battle. It remembers the nights you cried quietly so no one would hear. It remembers the mornings you got up anyway, pretending everything was fine. That's not weakness. That's power disguised as endurance. You've survived moments that could have broken anyone, and still, here you are, breathing, feeling, hoping. That's not just survival, that's grace. But there comes a time when survival isn't enough. You've spent years holding your breath, waiting for life to finally give you what you've begged for. But maybe life has been waiting for you, to stop waiting and start living. You can't spend your whole life standing at the door of what could have been. The longer you wait there, the more life passes you by. You were not made to stand in sorrow forever. You were made to move, to evolve, to turn pain into purpose. The ache in your chest isn't there to punish you, it's there to awaken you. Every story of transformation begins with one decision: to stop letting pain define what's possible. You've been carrying the weight of emptiness for too long. But what if the emptiness was never a curse? What if it's the space where your next chapter is meant to grow? You don't need to fill it with noise or distractions, you just need to fill it with truth. The truth that you still have power, that you still have something to give, that you still have the ability to create meaning from everything you've lost. Because the most beautiful souls are born from brokenness. The ones who've suffered the most often love the deepest. And that love, it's your gift, it's your light. Don't let bitterness steal that from you. Don't let comparison convince you that you have less. You were never behind. You were being prepared differently. While others built families, you were building depth. While others raised children, you were raising wisdom, compassion, resilience. What you've created inside yourself has the power to heal others in ways they can't even imagine. Stop underestimating what your story can do. Somewhere out there, another woman is breaking quietly like you once did, and she needs someone to remind her that she's not alone, that her pain is not her identity, that her worth isn't measured by what she gives birth to, but by the love she brings into the world. You can be that voice, you can be that light. You already have everything you need to do it, because you've lived it. You've walked through the darkness and made it out with your heart still beating. That makes you unstoppable. The truth is, your healing will not come from time. It will come from meaning, from using your pain for something greater than yourself. You don't heal by forgetting, you heal by transforming. You turn sorrow into strength, longing into compassion, silence into service. Every time you choose kindness when it would be easier to close off, you're healing. Every time you lift someone else when you're still hurting, you're rising. Healing doesn't mean the pain disappears. It means it no longer controls you. And when that moment comes, when you realize you've made peace with what didn't happen, you'll see the beauty in your own becoming. You'll see that even without what you prayed for, life still gave you something sacred, the ability to love deeper, to feel wider, to live more consciously. That's not a loss. That's a rebirth. You are not the same woman who started this journey. You are softer but stronger, quieter but wiser. You've lost illusions but gained truth. And that truth is this: you are still whole. So let the past rest. Stop reopening wounds that have already taught you their lesson. You are not meant to live in grief forever. You are meant to rise from it. Let yourself believe again, not necessarily in the same dream, but in life itself. Because life has a way of surprising those who refuse to give up on it. You may not get the life you imagined, but you will get the one you're meant to live. One filled with depth, love, and meaning. One where you finally understand that your worth was never defined by what you could give birth to, but by the woman you became when life said no, and you chose to keep going anyway. There comes a moment when you realize no one is coming to save you. No miracle, no perfect timing, no sudden answer will erase the ache you've carried. And that realization, it hurts. It shakes everything you once believed about fairness, about faith, about life itself. But buried inside that pain is something extraordinary: freedom. Because when you stop waiting for something outside of you to fix what's inside, you take your power back. You stop being a victim of what didn't happen and start becoming the author of what can. You can't rewrite the past, but you can change the meaning you give it. You can choose to see your pain not as punishment, but as preparation. Every heartbreak, every disappointment, every silent night was molding you, teaching you endurance, empathy, patience. The things you begged life to take away were actually the things building the woman you were meant to become. You've been walking through fire, but that fire didn't burn you, it refined you. And now it's time to stop surviving and start living, because there's a life waiting for you beyond the pain, a life that isn't built around what's missing, but around what still remains. You've got breath, you've got time, you've got love left inside you waiting to be used. Don't waste it on memories that no longer deserve you. Don't keep replaying the same scenes that only reopen your wounds. You've already bled enough. You've already suffered enough. The world needs the healed version of you now, the one who turns her scars into lessons and her sorrow into strength. You don't owe the world a version of yourself that keeps pretending. You owe yourself truth. You owe yourself peace. You owe yourself the chance to feel alive again. Healing doesn't mean you forget. It means you remember differently. It means you look at what broke you and say, you no longer have power over me. That's when the shift happens. That's when the pain loses its grip. You start breathing differently. You start walking lighter. You start realizing that peace was never out there. It was always waiting inside you, buried under years of guilt and self-blame. And maybe that's what this journey was always about. Not about having everything you wanted, but about becoming someone who can survive losing it and still love anyway. Because love is who you are. It's what you were created from. It's what keeps your heart soft even when the world hardens around you. That softness is not weakness. It's divine strength. It's proof that despite everything, your heart still beats with purpose. And that purpose is greater than the pain that shaped it. Don't hide your story anymore. Don't bury your truth to make others comfortable. Speak it. Own it. Let the world see what real resilience looks like. Because your voice, your truth, is the bridge someone else needs to cross their own darkness. You don't know who's watching, who's listening, who's breaking quietly and waiting for a sign that healing is possible. Be that sign. Be the proof that it's never too late to rise again. You've come too far to stop now. This pain wasn't the end of your story. It was the beginning of your awakening. Everything you've lost has made space for something deeper, something more eternal. And it begins the moment you decide that your life still has meaning, even without the things you once prayed for. You don't have to know what comes next. You just have to keep moving. Keep believing that your existence itself is the miracle you were waiting for, because one day you'll look back and realize you didn't just survive childlessness, you transcended it. You turned it into wisdom. You turned it into light. You turned it into a story that made others feel less alone. And that, more than anything, is legacy. Not every mother gives birth to a child. Some give birth to hope. Some give birth to courage. Some give birth to change. And that's you. You were never empty. You were becoming. There's a moment in every woman's life when she looks at herself in the mirror and finally sees what's always been there. A warrior. Not the kind who fights with swords, but the kind who fights battles no one else can see. You've fought with time, with hope, with silence. You've learned to carry a pain that has no name, a longing that words can't describe, and still, you wake up every day and keep going. That's not ordinary strength, that's divine endurance. You have lived through emptiness and still found ways to give. You have lived without answers and still chosen faith. That's what makes you rare. That's what makes you unstoppable. You don't need the world's validation to know your worth. You don't need anyone's sympathy to know your story matters. You've cried enough tears to drown in, but every one of them watered something inside you, resilience. You've lost things you thought you couldn't live without, yet here you are, breathing, existing, rising. That's what people don't see. They see your calm face, not the storm it hides. They see your steady hands, not the trembling they've known. They see your smile, not the pain it protects. But you know. You've seen what your soul can survive. You've seen how your heart still beats through the silence, and that silence, it's powerful. It's where you found yourself again. When the noise of expectations faded, when the world's voices went quiet, you began hearing the only one that truly mattered, your own. That voice that says, I am still here. That voice that refuses to give up. That's the sound of rebirth. You don't have to apologize for how you've healed. You don't have to explain why you still feel the ache sometimes. Healing is not a straight line. It's 1,000 tiny choices to keep believing that your life still has meaning, and it does. Even without what you prayed for, you are still part of something sacred. Maybe the life you imagined was never meant to be your destination, just the doorway to something greater. You were never meant to be defined by motherhood alone. You were meant to embody something larger, love in its purest form, the kind that doesn't depend on bloodlines but on compassion, the kind that reaches beyond yourself. You can nurture dreams, you can raise hope, you can build legacies through kindness and courage. You can touch souls without ever giving birth to one. That's what makes your journey extraordinary. It defies definition. Every pain has a purpose, even the one that broke you. It stripped away everything false so that only truth remained. And that truth is this: you are more than your wounds, more than your waiting, more than the label the world tries to give you. You are life itself, enduring, evolving, expanding. You may have lost what you wanted most, but you found something far more powerful: the ability to rise after being undone. That's the kind of strength that can't be taught. It's earned through heartbreak, through surrender, through starting over when you didn't think you could. So don't let this world tell you you're missing something. You are not missing, you are mastering. You are mastering patience, purpose, and peace. You are mastering what it means to find joy in unexpected places, meaning in small moments, faith in the unseen. You've already proven that you can survive anything. Now it's time to prove that you can live beyond survival. This is your turning point, the moment you stop seeing your life as less and start seeing it as limitless. The moment you stop comparing and start creating. The moment you stop aching for what could have been and start embracing what still can be. Because there's still so much left for you: love you haven't given, laughter you haven't shared, roads you haven't walked, lives you haven't touched. And maybe that's the gift hidden in your pain. It made you notice the beauty others miss. It made you softer, wiser, more awake. You don't need to be anyone else. You just need to remember who you are. The woman who stood in the ruins and built herself again. The one who turned her waiting into wisdom, her longing into light. That's your story. And it's not a story of loss. It's a story of becoming. There are women who smile every day while carrying a pain the world can't see. They laugh at others' jokes, join in celebrations, and pretend that life feels complete. But deep down, there's a silence inside them that screams. A silence that echoes every time they see a child run past, every time they hear the word mother, every time someone says, "You wouldn't understand, you don't have kids." That sentence cuts deeper than a knife. Because how do you explain a pain that isn't visible? How do you make the world understand the emptiness that no words can fill? Some women pray for years. They light candles, visit doctors, cry into their pillows. They hold hope in their hearts like a fragile flame, terrified it might go out. Every month brings new hope, and every month brings heartbreak. The cycle repeats: hope, disappointment, tears, silence. And yet, they keep going. They show up for others, even when no one shows up for them. They give love, even when they feel unworthy of receiving it. The strength it takes to live that way, to face the world with grace while carrying invisible grief, is beyond what most can imagine. Society doesn't make it easier. People whisper, families question. Some are pitied, others are blamed. Maybe it's her fault. Maybe she waited too long. Maybe God is punishing her. Words that destroy more than they realize. The world rarely sees that these women already blame themselves enough. They've asked every what if, begged God for answers, tried everything humanly possible, and still they are left with silence. That silence becomes their companion. It visits in the quiet hours of the night, when the world is asleep and only their thoughts are awake. But here's what no one talks about: the strength born from that silence. The courage that grows when life gives no answers. The compassion that blossoms in a heart that has known loss. These women learn to love beyond themselves. They nurture others' children, support families, build communities, heal souls. They mother in ways that have nothing to do with giving birth. Because motherhood is not just about carrying life. It's about giving it meaning. The world needs to stop defining women by what they can or cannot produce. A woman is not incomplete because she has no child. She is complete because she carries love, wisdom, and the power to create change. Her worth is not in her womb, but in her will. Her legacy is not only in children, but in the lives she touches, the people she lifts, the love she gives freely without expecting it back. And yes, there are moments when the pain returns, when they see another baby shower invitation or another pregnancy announcement. They smile and say congratulations, but inside something breaks again. Yet they keep standing, they keep living, they keep hoping, because they know their story isn't over. Some find peace in adoption, some become mentors, teachers, caregivers. Some simply choose to live with open hearts, pouring their love into the world in quiet, unseen ways. To every woman who feels forgotten, you are not invisible. Your pain matters. Your strength matters. You are part of a silent army that fights every day for hope, dignity, and faith. You've endured what many could not, and that makes you extraordinary. You may not hold a child in your arms, but you hold resilience in your soul. You carry stories of perseverance that the world desperately needs to hear. Maybe one day the world will stop asking, "Why don't you have kids?" and start saying, "Thank you for your strength." Because true motherhood isn't just about bringing life into the world, it's about nurturing it, wherever it's found. And sometimes the women who never had children are the ones who mother the world the most. So if you're one of them, hold your head high. You are not less, you are not broken. You are chosen for a different kind of purpose, one that may not always be understood, but is deeply needed. You were born to love in ways the world can't define, and that love, silent but powerful, is your greatest legacy. There are women who wake up every morning with a quiet ache in their hearts. They get ready, go to work, talk, smile, and pretend that everything is fine. But behind that calm face is a storm that never ends. A longing that words can't describe. They look at families, at mothers holding their babies, and they feel something tear inside. Not jealousy, not bitterness. Just an empty space that refuses to be filled. A silence that grows louder every year, every birthday, every passing season. It's the kind of pain that doesn't scream, it whispers. It hides behind polite smiles, behind "I'm fine", behind "maybe one day". No one really sees what they carry. The endless tests, the prayers, the waiting, the pressure from family, from friends, from themselves, the way their hearts sink every time someone asks, "When are you going to have kids?" as if it's just a choice, as if they haven't cried enough behind closed doors. They've heard every piece of advice, every empty comfort, every cruel question. But what they really need is understanding. They need someone to say, "It's okay, you are enough." Because deep down, that's what they fear. They fear they're not. The world often measures a woman's worth by what she can give, not by who she is. But what if her purpose is different? What if her love was meant to reach beyond one child, beyond one family? Some of these women become the strongest shoulders for others to cry on. They give without limits. They nurture without boundaries. They mother without being called mothers. And that, more than anything, shows what true motherhood really is. Still, the nights are the hardest, when the world is quiet and all that's left is the sound of their own heartbeat. That's when the thoughts return, the questions, the prayers unanswered, the feeling of being forgotten. But what they don't realize is that even in that darkness, they are being shaped. They are being prepared. Every tear, every heartbreak, every moment of silence is molding them into something powerful, something that can't be taken away. Because real strength isn't born in comfort. It's born in the fire of pain. And these women, they've walked through fire and still managed to smile. They've built walls around their hearts, but inside those walls is a love so deep it could heal the world. A love that doesn't need validation. A love that exists simply because it's pure. And when that love finally finds its way out, through kindness, through compassion, through resilience, it changes lives. They are the ones who lift others even when they're sinking. The ones who celebrate others' joy while hiding their sorrow. The ones who hold faith when hope feels impossible. That's not weakness. That's sacred strength. The kind of strength the world rarely sees but desperately needs. They are proof that you don't have to give birth to create life. You can create hope. You can create healing. You can create light in places where it's long been lost. And maybe that's what they were meant for all along. To remind the world that love isn't limited to bloodlines or genetics. That you can nurture a soul without ever holding it in your arms. That your purpose doesn't end where motherhood didn't begin. You are still whole. You are still chosen. You are still loved by a God who sees what no one else does. So to every woman who feels empty, know this: you are not defined by what you lack, but by what you give. Your story isn't one of loss, it's one of transformation. You were not left behind, you were set apart. Every tear you've shed is a seed planted in the soil of faith, and one day it will bloom into something beautiful. Maybe not in the way you imagined, but in the way you were destined for. You are not childless, you are timeless. You carry within you the spirit of creation itself, and no absence can take that away. Keep walking, keep believing. The world needs your light. There comes a moment when silence becomes too heavy to bear, when the questions echo louder than the answers ever could. Why me? What did I do wrong? It's the sound of a heart breaking quietly without witnesses, but the truth is, some of the greatest transformations in life happen in that silence. When everything is stripped away, what remains is your essence, your strength, your soul, your faith. Pain has a way of teaching you what comfort never can. It strips the illusions, removes the masks, and forces you to see who you really are beneath the noise. And sometimes, that discovery is the gift hidden inside the grief. There are women who've walked through this pain and emerged with fire in their eyes. They've learned to live with unanswered prayers, but never with a broken spirit. They've learned that motherhood is not only about giving birth, but about giving love. That life is not defined by what's missing, but by what's meaningful. Each scar, each disappointment, became a doorway to something higher. Because when everything you've hoped for slips through your fingers, you're left holding on to something even stronger, yourself. And maybe that's what this pain was trying to show all along. That even when the world doesn't give you what you asked for, it still gives you a chance to become more than you imagined. Every tear you shed is noticed. Every moment you felt invisible was seen by the one who never overlooks your worth. The same God who allowed this season of emptiness is also writing a story of redemption you can't yet see. You're not being punished, you're being prepared. You're not barren, you're becoming a vessel of purpose, a channel for something divine. You've learned to love through the ache, to give without expecting, to hope when hope itself felt cruel. That kind of faith cannot be taught, it can only be lived. And the world needs that kind of faith now more than ever, because your story isn't just about loss. It's about endurance. It's about holding on when everything tells you to let go. It's about showing others that peace doesn't come from getting what you want, but from trusting that what's meant for you will never miss you. Every time you lift your head after crying, every time you smile when your heart still hurts, you are defeating the darkness. You are proving that pain doesn't define you, it refines you. You are not broken, you are being rebuilt into someone unshakable. And the strength you've gained in this battle will become the light someone else needs to find their way out. You are the voice of resilience for countless souls who've been silenced by shame, by comparison, by judgment. The world doesn't need more perfection, it needs more authenticity. It needs women who face despair and still choose kindness, who've been denied their dreams, yet still choose to believe. That is what makes you extraordinary. That is what makes your journey sacred. You carry the wisdom of the wounded, the patience of the waiting, the courage of the unseen. You are the embodiment of grace under pressure. And one day, you'll look back and realize this pain didn't destroy you. It rebuilt you. It carved depth into your soul, empathy into your heart, and power into your spirit. You'll see that the emptiness you once cursed became the space where purpose grew. You'll understand that while life didn't give you everything you asked for, it gave you everything you needed to become who you were meant to be. So hold your head high. You are not forgotten. You are not less than. You are part of a greater plan that is still unfolding. The love you've been yearning to give is not wasted. It's waiting. It will find its place in this world, whether through a child, a cause, a heart you heal, or a soul you touch. You were born to create meaning, not just life. And that is a legacy far greater than you ever imagined. Some people will never understand the strength it takes to carry invisible pain, to show up every day with grace while your heart quietly bleeds, to smile when your arms ache for what they've never held. To listen to others talk about their children, their families, and feel joy for them while something inside you trembles. It's a silent courage that no one claps for. There's no medal for endurance, no applause for surviving what no one can see. But that doesn't make it less heroic. In fact, it makes it sacred, because only those who have walked through silent suffering know what it means to hold faith in the dark. There's a kind of loneliness that words can't fix, a kind that seeps into the corners of your soul and makes everything feel heavier. You start questioning your worth, your purpose, your place in this world. You wonder if something is wrong with you, if maybe you're just not meant to be chosen for that kind of love. But life isn't cruel, it's complex. It hides blessings behind burdens. It teaches through absence what abundance could never reveal. The love you've been denied in one form often returns in another. You may not see it yet, but every loss is making room for something greater, something that lasts, because one day you will look around and realize that your heart, though scarred, has grown bigger. You will see how much compassion you've gained, how deeply you can feel, how powerfully you can love. You'll notice how your pain has shaped you into someone the world desperately needs. Someone who listens without judgment, someone who understands without explanation, someone who gives without expecting anything back. That's what true beauty is. Not perfection, but depth. Not having everything, but understanding everything. And maybe that's why God chose you for this path. Not to punish you, but to use you. To make your story a mirror for others who are lost in silence. To show that, even when life doesn't give you what you prayed for, it still gives you meaning. The way you've survived this, the way you've kept going, the way you've continued to love in spite of the pain, that's divine. That's purpose. That's the kind of story that shifts hearts. You were never meant to fade quietly into despair. You were meant to rise through it, to take the pieces of your broken heart and build something beautiful, to use your voice to comfort others who can't find their own, to remind the world that motherhood, love, and purpose come in many forms. You don't have to give birth to nurture. You don't have to have children to leave a legacy. Your kindness, your resilience, your presence, they are already changing lives. You've been creating life all along, just not in the way the world expected. So stop apologizing for the story you were given. Stop shrinking under the weight of what others think your life should look like. Your journey is not less meaningful because it looks different. In fact, it's more profound, because it shows that even in pain, you chose love. Even in disappointment, you chose faith. Even in silence, you chose strength. That choice, that quiet defiance, is what makes you unstoppable. And when people look at you, they won't see a woman who couldn't. They'll see a woman who did, who kept her dignity, her faith, her humanity intact, who walked through the fire and came out radiant, the kind of woman whose story touches generations, whose strength inspires others to keep believing when everything seems lost. You were never less than. You were always chosen for something greater. You were always meant to turn pain into power and emptiness into light. Keep walking. You are living proof that even in the absence of what you wanted most, your life can still become something extraordinary. There's a quiet power in the women who have known this kind of waiting. A power that isn't loud or flashy, but deep, unshakable, and eternal. They've lived through longing so profound it could have broken them, yet here they are, still breathing, still believing, still moving forward. Every tear they've shed, every night spent in silent despair, has carved strength into their souls. The world doesn't see it, but it exists in every gentle word they offer, every act of kindness they give, every moment they endure when life asks them to keep showing up despite the emptiness. That strength is magnetic. It calls to others. It draws hope to those who thought hope had left them forever. Pain teaches clarity. Loss teaches resilience. Waiting teaches patience. And these women have learned all three, often without acknowledgement, without applause. They know that life can be cruel, that it doesn't follow the scripts we imagine. But they also know that love is not measured by what you hold in your arms. It is measured by what you carry in your heart, and their hearts have carried more than most will ever understand. They have loved deeply, given unconditionally, and endured silently. That is the definition of courage. That is the measure of a life lived with meaning, even in the absence of what was longed for most. The ache that comes with childlessness is not a flaw, it is the raw material for transformation. It teaches empathy that superficial experience can never teach. It molds a heart that can hold others without judgment, that can reach beyond itself without expectation, that can see beauty where others see only lack. The woman who has walked this path is often the one who touches lives the most profoundly. Her legacy is not in what she didn't have, it's in what she gives: wisdom, compassion, strength, and an unyielding example of endurance. Every unspoken pain, every moment of invisibility, every time the world underestimated her, these moments became fuel. They forged a resilience that refuses to break under pressure. And that resilience, once awakened, becomes unstoppable. It drives her to create impact far beyond her own life. It makes her a beacon for anyone drowning in their own invisible struggles. She doesn't need recognition. The lives she touches are her reward. The difference she makes is silent but seismic, altering the course of countless stories simply by her example of surviving and thriving. There is a sacredness in the journey she has walked, a reminder that life is not always about what is granted, but about what is discovered. She discovers depth in her emotions, richness in her character, and power in her persistence. She discovers that her existence alone is a gift, that her ability to endure is a miracle, that her choice to continue loving and giving despite loss is heroic. And she realizes that while life didn't follow the path she envisioned, it has led her somewhere far greater, into the heart of purpose itself. Her strength becomes contagious. Her endurance becomes a map for those lost in their own grief. Her love becomes a bridge for hearts waiting to heal. She becomes proof that even the deepest sorrow can be transformed into the most extraordinary form of impact. The world may not understand her journey, may not validate her suffering, may even dismiss her as incomplete, but she knows the truth. She is whole, she is powerful, she is chosen, and the emptiness she once feared is now the space where her greatest contributions take root. So she stands taller, walks forward, and refuses to be defined by what was denied. Every heartbeat becomes a declaration: I am more than my loss, I am more than my pain, I am more than what you think I am. And in that declaration, she becomes unstoppable. She becomes the kind of woman who inspires others to rise, to endure, to believe in their own strength. She becomes the embodiment of hope in its purest, most unshakable form. The world needs her courage, her light, her resilience. It needs the example she sets simply by existing and refusing to yield. Every act of love she gives, every moment she chooses to persevere, every quiet triumph over despair becomes a testament to the power of the human spirit. She is living proof that even in absence there can be abundance. Even in silence there can be a voice. Even in pain there can be power. And that power, once recognized, cannot be ignored. She is unstoppable, unbreakable, and utterly necessary.